We back for another episode of Boxing Around the Ring. Boxing is officially about to start April 16th. We got Errol Spence Jr., current WBC IBF champ, welterweight champ, versus Yordenis Ugas, current WBA champ. With Errol Spence coming off of 2 victories over Danny Garcia and Sean Porter. And then you got Yordenis Ugas, who's coming off of a victory over Manny Pacquiao. Now, this is going to be a good fight. I know a lot of people counting Ugas out, but I'm not going to count him out. I'm still pulling for Errol Spence, but I'm not going to say that he's just going to wash Yordenis Ugas. I've watched Ugas fight, and the boy can fight. The man got hands. So I think this is going to be a tough challenge, especially with Errol Spence coming off of that injury. You know, I think he had a detached retina. So that eye injury definitely might play a part in this fight. But I'm still pulling for Errol Spence. This is going to be a good fight. April 16th, I will be covering the weigh-in live. So tune in for that. I'm going to go live on that, and you know, we can chop it up about boxing back and forth. We had some fights earlier this year. You know, I told you guys I'm not going to really be covering those, those type of fights, especially if they're going to charge you for those fights. Those free fights, those fights should be free. We just had Keith Thurman fight Mario Barrios. Now, Keith Thurman, no, he should be fighting better competition than that. Could knock him out, but I get it. You want to get your feet wet, you know, after being out of the ring for I don't know how many years, but what is it? What has it been? 3 years or something like that for Keith Thurman since he's been out of the ring. But yeah, I still think Keith Thurman is, you know, in that bracket of top fighters in the welterweight division. I just don't think he's going to be able to beat any of the top fighters in the welterweight division. I don't think he's going to be able to beat, you know, Terrence Crawford, Errol Spence. That's just my opinion. He might not be able to beat Yordenis Ugas. If Ugas loses this fight to Errol Spence, that's who he should fight next. He should just go ahead and fight Keith Thurman next. But you guys tell me what you think. Who do you have out of this Errol Spence versus Yordenis Ugas? A lot of people been hitting me up like, hey, are you going to cover this fight? And yes, I am. I know you guys had a lot of questions like where I've been with the boxing channel. Like I said, I probably won't be covering those, you know, ridiculous fights when they're just trying to scrape up crumbs from, you know, viewers. And I just feel like that's wrong. If they free fights, that's different. You know, then I could see myself, you know, it'll make sense for me to, you know, do a little blog on it or something, do a little video clip on it. But if you're going to try to charge for those bogus fights, I'm just not even going to pay attention to it. I'm just not. So here's my take on the Errol Spence versus Yordenis Ugas fight. I think that Errol Spence, if he can hang in there and he doesn't have any problems with his eye, I think he's going to possibly stop Ugas. I think he can possibly stop Ugas in the late rounds with body attacks. Errol Spence's body attack is vicious, and I haven't seen anyone really take it to the body on Ugas. Usually it's a lot of head hunting, you know. But if Errol Spence can take it to the body and have success with that, I think he can possibly stop Ugas, you know. For Ugas to win this fight, he's going to have to land a lucky punch and knock Errol Spence down and win by points, because I don't think he can knock Errol Spence out. But I do think if he can get a knockdown, he can get away with beating Errol Spence on the scorecard. Now, the fight to be made after this fight is whoever wins this fight, they should be going on to fight Terrence Crawford. That's the boogeyman in the division right now. A lot of people don't want to fight him. He is a monster. But that is the next fight. Whoever wins this fight should be fighting Terrence Bud Crawford next. We're in the fight business where if you want to be the best, you got to beat the best. You just can't walk around claiming to be the best and not fight the best, you know? So that's my take on that fight. What round I think it could end in? I'm going to say if Errol Spence attacks the body early, I think he can stop Ugas by the 9th, 10th round. I think he can stop Ugas with his body attack. Now, I've seen Errol Spence get caught flush with some clean shots. So that leads me to believe, like I said earlier, that Ugas could get a knockdown on him. And if he can get a knockdown by landing, a couple of flush shots, because he can punch. He punches hard. I think he can do it. I think he can get a knockdown, and I think he can win by points on the scorecard. When I watched the Ugas versus Manny Pacquiao fight last year, he was punching Manny Pacquiao pretty hard, punching through his guard. Manny Pacquiao couldn't even block the punches. A lot of people don't want to fight Ugas because he's a tough fight. They just don't want to fight him. Maybe they feel like they can win, but they don't want to even take the chance because he punches that hard. And he's a Cuban fighter. And Cuban fighters are known to be just great all-around technical fighters. So I think Errol Spence does have his hands full getting in there with Yordenis Ugas. They're both coming off of great victories, with Errol Spence beating Sean Porter and Danny Garcia, and Yordenis Ugas coming off of a good victory over Manny Pacquiao. A lot of people counted Ugas out in that fight. No one thought he was going to beat Manny Pacquiao. Maybe a few, but for the most part, people thought Manny Pacquiao would beat Ugas. Now, the thing is, Manny Pacquiao was supposed to be fighting Errol Spence. That was the fight that was supposed to happen, but Errol got that injury during the training, and he got a detached retina out of that. So that caused the fight to be canceled between Errol Spence and Manny Pacquiao, which I do believe he would have knocked Pacquiao out, judging from the performance Manny Pacquiao put on against Yordenis Ugas. Now, yes, Ugas and Pacquiao, they really didn't have time to train for each other per se. You train for a certain fight when you're getting ready to fight a certain fighter. And with that switch being made, I kind of feel like maybe that led to, Manny Pacquiao being off guard as far as getting in the ring and having to take on that challenge, which he wasn't preparing for during his whole entire training camp. I think he had a few weeks to prepare for Ugas after that injury with Errol Spence, so you can only do so much. And like I said, Cuban fighters are great fighters. They're very sound and technical. So with that being said, I'm excited for this fight. Boxing is officially kicking off to me in April. April 16th, that is the fight to watch. I will be going live for the weigh-in, so check in with me for that. We're going to shoot some boxing talk back and forth for those of you who are fans of boxing. It should be a great event. You guys tell me what you think. Who do you have in this fight? Who do you have? Who are you picking? Who do you have coming out, and why? Why do you have them winning? And how do you have them winning? Is it a knockout? Is it by points? What do you think? Is it going the whole 12? And whoever wins this fight, who do you think they should fight next? My vote is Terrence Crawford. He is the boogeyman in the welterweight division right now, and he holds the other title that would be needed to become undisputed welterweight champ of the world. Don't you want to unify the title? So whoever wins these these belts that's on the line, with Errol Spence having 2 of the belts and Yordenis Ugas having 1, the other belt Terrence Crawford has. So who do you guys have, and who do you have for the next fight for whoever wins this fight? Who do you think they should fight next? My vote is Terrence Crawford. Whoever wins this fight, let's go ahead and get you in there with Terrence Bud Crawford. Let's see what's really happening. Let's see who's really the king in the welterweight division. And after that, what else is there to be said? Then you can talk that big fish. Because in my opinion, if you want to be the big fish, you got to really earn that spot. You know, you got to earn that. You can't be running from the boogeyman. You just can't. Back in those back in the golden era of boxing, we didn't really see that. We saw them go right at each other because they wanted it established that I was the best. I'm numero uno. And that's what I'm looking forward to between Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford, because that's who I want to see in the ring. I gotta say, I'm hoping Errol Spence can pull off this victory and we can get Errol Spence and Terrence Bud Crawford in the ring. You guys tell me what you think. That's all I got for right now. I will be back with some more content. We got some exciting fights taking place this year. Started off a little slow, you know, with, like I said, with the Keith Thurman, Mario Barrios. You know, then you had the Amir Khan versus then you had the Amir Khan versus Kell Brook, and Kell Brook scored a knockout in that fight. Then we have Jamel, we have the Charlo brother. He's going to be in there fighting Castaño in the rematch. Now that's going to be an exciting fight too. I still got Charlo pulling it off. I got Charlo, you know, taking that one. I got Charlo taking that. That first fight ended in a draw. So that was a tough fight for Charlo, but I'll cover that fight as well. So you guys tune in. We back. Boxing is officially back, and I will be going live for that press conference. I'll holler at you guys later. Peace out, Fight World.